This is the game that I think 3.7% of the country actually saw. Yeah. And that was the 49ers hosting the Miami Dolphins. And I know Bengals fans upset now. They want their respect. You have to respect the Bengals. And we'll get to you this segment. Just chill, Bengals fans. Just chill. 49ers Dolphins is more eventful for one very big reason. A high-end Super Bowl contender is down to a 7th-round rookie quarterback who was the last guy drafted. I'm not big into the whole Mr. Irrelevant thing in a 7-round draft. Because how many guys not even drafted make teams, become starters, Pro Bowlers, Hall of Famers? The last guy drafted doesn't matter. I've never been into that, especially with a 7-round draft. However, Brock Purdy from Iowa State, last man drafted. Now the last man standing, sort of, in San Francisco. I mean, they still have backups, but you're already screwed. They always say if you're down to your third-string quarterback, you're screwed. Well, the 49ers are down to their third-string quarterback, and they're not screwed, Miles. He looked pretty good yesterday.
You know what's really interesting, Mike? When you're playing an opponent in the Miami Dolphins that runs the same scheme as you do, down to probably a lot of the same terminology, right? And you're studying that thing on film, and you are the backup quarterback, so you are the show team quarterback. There's probably no better week that Brock Purdy could have come in and executed the offense to a high level, because that's what he was doing the entire week anyway. And quarterbacks always talk about, I prepare like I'm the starter. I prepare like I'm the start. No, you don't, because you don't get starters reps. And that's just one of these inherent things that comes with being in the NFL. There's not enough time to get 2 quarterbacks prepared to play in any given week. There just isn't. So when Brock Purdy has to come in for an injured Jimmy Garoppolo after the first drive of that game, I mean, again, there's just no better time for him to come in, because he had been running that offense the entire week instead of, say, running, I don't know, like the Cowboys offense or whatever, the 49ers, the Buccaneers offense, as if they're going to play them this week, right? So there was a good opportunity for him, and he executed about as well as anybody could have in that situation. I mean, he exceeded my expectations.
Great point. And you get bonus points for using the actual lingo of show team instead of scout team. The non-astute football observer thinks it's called the scout team. The true inside the Beltway football aficionado who follows it and has worked for a couple of teams knows it's actually called the show team. Here is Kyle Shanahan, the coach of the San Francisco 49ers, upon learning the bad news that Jimmy Garoppolo, who exited early with a foot injury, has a broken bone and is likely done for the year. Here he is.
I mean, just hearing it was pretty crushing. I mean, we know what Jimmy's been through, how hard he's worked at this. You know, I got that news a little in the second quarter, so it was a little different for me, even just how happy we were with that game. That was a really cool game just as a team, and all the stuff that went on throughout the game, and just be able to overcome some things. And it was such a special win, but definite mixed emotions hearing about Jimmy. I told the guys right after the game, and so I know that gave them some mixed emotions fast too, but it was a hell of a job by Brock coming in, stepping it up. He did a real good job today, and we're going to be ready to do our best to overcome this.
And look, as starting quarterbacks being lost for the season go, among playoff contenders, now that the cream has separated for the most part from the crap, the 49ers are the one team least affected by this. Jimmy Garoppolo's been perceived as the weak link anyway. We don't win because of him, we win in spite of him. He's the guy that, as long as he doesn't screw anything up, the rest of the team can take care of business. As long as we don't have to count on to make a big throw in a big spot, everything will be fine. As long as we can overcome those periodic moments of Jimmy G doing a Jimmy G thing, the train will keep rolling. So, really, look at any other contender. The Bengals without Joe Burrow, screwed. Chiefs without Patrick Mahomes, screwed. Bills without Josh Allen, screwed. Eagles without Jalen Hurts, screwed. Vikings without Kirk Cousins, screwed. The only team among all the high-end contenders that would just kind of shrug at the loss of the starting quarterback is the 49ers. So, yes, it's big news, but I think it's no big deal for the 49ers. Am I wrong?
I don't know. I don't know, Mike. I think it's bigger than no big deal because Jimmy Garoppolo has been in those situations before, and he's not a 7th-round rookie. So
what situations are you
about,
referring to? Are you referring to the situation where he freaked out Kyle Shanahan to the point where he turned him into Bob Greasy and said, you just hand the ball off in these playoff games and the rest of the team will take care of things? Is that the situation you're talking about? Because I think Brock Purdy can execute the handoffs if it comes to it.
Easy for you to know his name,
Brock
right?
Purdy, they know who we mean.
Yeah, you're going to know his name. Hey, by the end of the regular season, we're going to know Brock Purdy's name, all right?
Well, because every possible pun has probably already been exhausted for Brock Purdy.
Yes. Well, I'm sure we'll do something with that probably, in the coming weeks. But no, just from an emotional standpoint, though, right? I mean, this is already a team that lost its starting quarterback early on in the season in Trey Lance. So you have Jimmy Garoppolo, who is the backup quarterback. And I think it's important to kind of remember that, which sort of gets lost because he's been a starter for so long in San Francisco, that he was the backup this year. So now you're down to your 3rd-string quarterback. And whenever a team is down to your 3rd-string quarterback, like you said, I mean, you think you're kind of screwed. But even though there are limitations with Jimmy Garoppolo, people talk about how good he is as a teammate, how much he cares, how the kind of emotional lift that he provides. So, I mean, at least for the time being, it's something that they're going to have to overcome. And whenever you're talking about a young quarterback who just doesn't have any experience in general, going from what you had with Jimmy Garoppolo down to that's a significant thing. Now, I think Brock Purdy can execute the offense. I mean, what is it Frank Reich said, before he got fired? I can prepare a quarterback to win one game, but then once they get film on that guy, we'll see what happens. And that's the kind of situation you're in now with Brock Purdy. But if there is any situation that a young quarterback who doesn't have any experience, that was drafted in the 7th round, can come in and feel comfortable, let's call it, then yeah, it's with the San Francisco 49ers, who have the best defense in the league and also have a collection of weapons that rivals anybody offensively. This is a decent situation that Brock Purdy is walking into, but it's not like there's not going to be some kind of drop off from Jimmy Garoppolo, even with his limitations.
But I think the drop off for them will be as small or smaller, far smaller than it would be for any other playoff contender. It's a system, and it's a system expertly crafted by Kyle Shanahan, where they're always staying ahead of what the defense is doing. They specifically devise, and Chris Sims talked about this, their first order of business every week is coming up with ideas in the run game, not the pass game, to exploit the realities of a defense. At the end of the day, you got 11 guys. You can deploy them however you want. Kyle Shanahan figures out how a given team chooses to most commonly deploy its players under certain circumstances, down and distance, whatever the case may be. So how do I take advantage of those 11 guys? How do I get a guy to move this way and create a hole that guy can run through? So this is nothing against Jimmy Garoppolo. The guy was done. They had thrown him overboard. He was out, and they brought him back in. They were going to trade him. And if they didn't trade him, they were going to cut him. And we got to late August, and they looked around, and I think a big part of the reason was we're still not real sure about Trey Lance. Are we ready to really go forward with Trey Lance as our starter when we have this other guy who knows the offense? He's here. Maybe we can work out a deal and pay him less, and a win-win for everyone. And they did that, and then by week 2, they needed it. So this is a locker room that's been through every possible crazy quarterback scenario you can imagine, which I think it makes them more, well-adjusted? They're very well-adjusted because they've had to adjust to everything. So they'll adjust to this, and they'll just keep going. I mean, they've got a pretty damn good record. They won the game against a very good Miami Dolphins team with a total team effort where the defense stepped up and got it done and slammed the door on the Dolphins. So it proves that this formula works. You don't even need to say, bear with me, we'll make it work next week. It already worked. Brock Purdy got thrust into the fray early, and they beat one of the hottest teams in the NFL, and they made Tua Tagovailoa look ordinary. So I think that the 49ers will be fine. If it was any other high-end contender, it would be, can they hold on? What are they going to do? Is there anybody out there? Can they get Big Ben to come out of retirement? I mean, we were throwing around all sorts of names just for craps and giggles yesterday as to guys that they could bring in. Phillip Rivers, Drew Brees, although he was hit by lightning, unless he wasn't. I mean, there's all sorts of guys that are out there that are available. Sorry, the over/under was 11 minutes for me to mention the lightning thing that was very funny. It was a funny joke, a very, very funny joke. I'm waiting for other sportsbook ambassadors to be swallowed by an alligator or, anyway, it's I have some thoughts that I'm going to refrain from articulating. Let me share this thought with you. I don't know if this is flashed for you. We were showing Brock Purdy earlier. This is my way to transition out of the mess that I'd wandered into. Brock Purdy, to me, looks like that guy who looks like somebody, but you don't know who it is.
He looks like that guy from that thing.
It's kind of a twist on that. He looks like somebody that you should know who it is, but you don't know who it is. Like that is well, I know him. He's wait, who is he? Yeah, that's him. That's Brock Purdy.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. I mean, that's just I don't know. He's one of those nondescript quarterback people. Yeah, he looks like the create a player sort of that you would get in like Madden. The face that they start with.
Yes.
And then you have to reshape it and do all kinds of other stuff. And then, you come out with your creative player. That's kind of what he looks like.
The smiling Brock Purdy at the bottom of the screen looks a little like John Harbaugh, but the stoic Brock Purdy is just kind of like, he looks like a guy that I should know exactly who he looks like, and I can't think of who it is that he looks like. But the 49ers still look like a great team. Seeing that?
Yes.
That's professionalism at its finest. The 49ers are moving in the right direction. The 49ers will be dangerous. They will travel well if and when they go on the road. But they're going to they're probably going to be the 3 seed. So they're going to be hosting the 6 seed to start the postseason. And then they'll go to, the way it's falling now, Minnesota. Good luck, Vikings, dealing with that defense. So if it comes to it, I just think the 49ers, we've been here before where a contender loses its quarterback in December and it's like, that's it, put a fork in them, they're done, it's over, they're frauds, they can't perform without. I think that this is the one case that we can point to where the 49ers should be optimistic and they should have a little spring in their step once they realize they can win with Brock Purdy. And they can, and I think they will.
Yes. Two things about the 49ers in regards to that. I mean, the throw to me that signaled that Brock Purdy is ready for the opportunity was late in the second quarter. It was 3rd down and 10, and Miami pretty much sent the house right at Purdy. Right. And he still stays in the pocket and he fires the ball pretty much right into the teeth of the blitz, right to George Kittle. It goes for a first down. I think he got 19 yards when they needed 10. Right. That to me was one of those signals where it's like, okay, even though Brock Purdy is a 7th round rookie, they can be okay with him because he's not scared. He was prepared for that moment. And that's something that a lot of, quarterbacks that have been in this league a lot longer than him have really struggled with at times. So that to me was a really good sign. And also when you've got the defense and the defense is playing as well as it played, Kyle Shanahan started talking about this at his post-game press conference that he kind of called out in jest the defensive line for not playing quite as well as the linebackers in their last win. And apparently the defensive line took that very personally, because after Nick Bosa forced his last sack, which ended up as a fumble return for a touchdown for Dre Greenlaw, he comes back over to the sideline and Kyle Shanahan says, I thought we were going to celebrate. And effectively, Nick Bosa said, that's what happens when you call me out in a team meeting. So, and he didn't say it quite like that. He said it a little more explicitly. But if they can keep that defense playing at that high level, yeah, I've said it for weeks now. They have a championship caliber defense, and they showed it yesterday against the Miami Dolphins, who are as good on offense as about anybody in the league when you consider the speed that they've got, right? If you can keep playing like that, then that's how you rally around Brock Purdy and play good football.
And the key to the 49ers continues to be keeping the nucleus of their best players healthy. And yes, Jimmy Garoppolo was part of that nucleus, but he was kind of on the fringes of it. You need Nick Bosa. You need Deebo Samuel. You need Christian McCaffrey. You need the best of the best to be healthy. Once they start getting banged around, and they can, and they have, because they play with no hesitation, they do run into that brick wall. And usually the brick wall loses. Sometimes one of the bricks wins and a guy gets injured and he's got to fight through it, and maybe he can't play at all, or he plays and he's impaired. That's the issue for the 49ers. That's the thing that can derail them on their path to another Super Bowl, and they still, in my mind, continue to be a team that can get there, and it's a great opportunity falling out of the sky for Brock Purdy as they are looking continuously for their long-term answer at quarterback, and they don't know what they have in Trey Lance, and they still don't know. I guess it would be fitting if at the end of the day, after they gave up everything they did to move up to number 3 in the 2021 draft, the last guy taken in 2022 becomes a guy that they can feel good about and rally around and eventually figure out who in the hell it is that he looks like. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.